Welcome to the Weather Report's election night coverage. I am joined by my hosts, panel TWR contributors Valorist and Glazed Aviation, also known as Representative Jim Jordan. We are here live from Ottawa, here to discuss our next democracy here in Canada. Who will form the next government? So, Valorist, what do you have to say about what we see here tonight?
Well, of course, I'm running for the Libertarian Party. I think that the campaigns from other parties have been weak in comparison to the campaign of my party. Now I sit on this panel of hosts not to spew my partial views, but instead to provide an opinion, and that's what I'm going to do. And my opinion is that the other parties' campaigns have been insufficient to really catch up to the Libertarians, in my opinion. So honestly, tonight I'm expecting a majority. I think it's fair to say I'm expecting a majority.
And here we're joined by Ohio Congressman Jordan. What do you have to say about tonight's results? What do you expect to see from tonight? How do you think Canadians are going to vote?
I agree with Valorist here that I think that we're going to see a Libertarian majority. I think all the other parties did a weak and poor job of campaigning, and that's all I have to say.
Tonight's results. What do you expect to see from tonight? We would like to weigh in now on the recent discussion on the economy failing here in Canada. We are a permanent 5 nation. Let's not forget that. We are meant to be a P5 nation, and our economy is failing. There's no fiscal responsibility. The Department of Finance is in complete chaos. Derby did nothing as Minister of Finance for a month and a half. George tried to fix everything, but then the NDP removed him from office through the vote of no confidence. What do you guys have to say about this? What do you think of Canadians not being able to participate in the private sector under what is clearly a big government takeover of our economy?
Okay, so go first. Okay, I guess I'll go first. I agree with you, Rain. We're a permanent 5 nation, and when you're in the permanent 5, you're meant to be an example to everyone else on the world stage, right? So the fact that we've had such a struggle, especially on the Derby, to create, I wouldn't even say like some kind of economic prosperity, literally just a basic functioning Department of Finance, we've struggled to create. And that's unacceptable of a P5 nation. That can't happen. Now, every single party has proposed finance reform. Of course, they must. And poor George last term was trying his hardest to fix Derby's mistake, but didn't get enough time. Now, I'm sure that over the next term, whoever does get into government, we're going to see progress in the Department of Finance. But really, if we want to give it its prosperity and what it deserves, a deserving Department of Finance of a P5 nation, I think only the Libertarians or maybe the People's Party could deliver that.
Yes, believe it or not, advertising your failed budget airline and giving your news channel a free channel on the Discord without any prior activity does not improve the economy, believe it or not. So, Congressman, what do you think of this?
I agree. I think that for a permanent 5 nation, Canada's finance ministry does an exceptionally shit job. Because every time that there's a new government, we have to re-register all of our businesses, and it's just very poor form in that we need to do better.
I think one of the solutions to that pressing issue actually is that we will be having we're going to be having the Deputy Minister of Finance handle channels, handle business incorporation, registrations. And I think that would be one way to stop this deregistering of everything, because we are seeing the biggest destruction of our economy here in the past several months. We have not seen the sort of I would say disgusting destruction of our economy in recent Canadian history. We have seen failed government after failed government try and destroy our finance department, and that is just completely unacceptable. I think Canadians deserve better than what we're seeing here tonight, and shortly I think we're going to be hearing from people of Canada trying to weigh in on how the bad economy has been falling out, and we will also be taking reports from questions from audience texting into me right now to discuss issues at hand. But I think the main thing that we should be focused on, and we just got a weather alert right now, the elections Canada has just come in. They said that they will be releasing, they'll be calling in seats for the House of Commons. This, of course, is a general election. The government will be decided tonight for the next 2 months. We'll be focusing on prime ridings, various constituencies that are up for election. We know that lots of seats are high on watch tonight. We know Winnipeg, the incumbent member for Winnipeg, is not running for re-election. We are going to see where that riding specifically would swing. We know that a lot of incumbents, such as the member for Edmonton, is not seeking re-election either. We're going to be seeing tonight how all of this factors out in tonight's election. So, or should I say, Mr. Valorist, if I may, what do you have to say about tonight? How confident are you about tonight's election?
I mean, I already said earlier that I'm expecting nothing less than a majority, and I think I'm right to expect such a thing, you know? I told you again how the other parties' campaigns weren't enough, but I'd say as well their platforms, their policies aren't enough. As much as I respect the People's Party, I found their manifesto difficult to read at times. I feel like they are the only acceptable alternative for Canada, apart from obviously the Libertarian Party. But like their policies, I couldn't completely wrap my head around some of what they were promising. Of course, a lot of it was reasonable and acceptable, and that's why they're my second choice. But overall, they don't hold a candle. And then all the way at the bottom, you've got the Conservative Party of Canada, who I think the less said, the better. And then the Agriculture Party, who isn't going to win. So realistically, I don't think there's anything standing in the way of the Libertarian Party. You know, like, it's just, I don't know how better to put it than we've got a majority likely coming. And I don't think Canada has seen the kind of election dominance that I'm expecting tonight for a long, long time. So yeah, that's my 2 pence.
Thank you, Leader. But so we have the situation actually where we saw the debate, the CBC debate that is. We have seen fellow leaders try and echo their belief sentiments, and you did very successfully. In fact, according to TWR polling, you have succeeded actually tremendously on your performance in the debate, and many viewers agreed. In fact, barely anyone could understand what the leader of the Conservative Party was saying. He was stammering everywhere. His accent was hard to understand. He did not enunciate properly. Nothing was, and then he was just, you know, there was the leader of the RCN, Real Canada News, which is basically our junior partnering organization, as far as I'm aware. They said that he sounded like French RFK Jr. So with that in mind, he just did not have the charisma. He did not have. Clearly, he was waffling the entire time. I doubt he believes in anything he was saying. Clearly, he was just a puppet of big government interests, just propping him up to stop the voice of populism in this country. And that's just my personal take on this. Congressman, what do you think about this?
I have to agree. I think that the Conservative Party has done an exceptionally poor job, and I think that Xavier is just a puppet, kind of like Joe Biden, you know. But yeah, I expect to see like Valor said, a Libertarian majority, and I expect nothing less.
And we'll be joining in shortly by TWR contributor, Mr. Ryan R. Sawyer, very shortly. We'll be discussing the economy that we have seen under the work of our Minister of Finance, Darby, who has been a complete failure. Right now, he himself has traveled around the world himself, just like how I have spoken from the streets of Canada. And basically, Mr. Sawyer, he has just recently gone shopping for his dinner. Would you like to weigh in on the cost of living going up under this Minister of Finance? How food prices are going up? How inflation is on the rise and there's nothing being done about that? Mr. Sawyer, please.
It's utterly ridiculous. You know, it was about close to $50 for my whole thing. Just buying for myself. The prices really have gone ridiculous around here.
So you're saying that times are tough right now, and there's no relief from the government. You are struggling to make ends meet. Have you seen anything this bad before?
No, I mean, I've been around for years, and it's never been quite this bad.
And do you think the Minister of Finance is out of touch with everyday Canadians?
Yeah, I definitely think that would be an understatement.
So another thing I would like to mention, the Minister of Finance is also the Minister of Immigration, and recently you tried to join Canada and your immigration status was denied. And we have reached out to Immigrations Canada to find out why your immigration status was denied, and they said that you were an alternate account of me. So what do you have to say about that? Would you like to confirm to Canada and America even whether you're an alternate account of me or not?
Well, last I checked, I sound nothing like you, and quite frankly, we're two completely separate people. And I've been on this game off and on for the past 10 years, and definitely am not an alternate account of you. Last I checked.
So would you say, Mr. Sawyer, you were a victim of racial profiling by them suggesting that you're an alternate account just because you have less friends than on your Roblox friend list than many Roblox characters, and just because you don't log in as often, they're assuming you're an alternate account? Would you say you're a victim of what we see as a new strain of racial profiling in Canada?
Yeah, I kind of felt a little bit like some profiling going on, that's for sure.
Thank you, Mr. Sawyer, for weighing in on what we can clearly see is degeneracy destroying our economy and destroying our credibility as an immigration agency. Now, Valorous, if you remember, in the last government, when you were a minister, we tried to pass legislation to have independent, impartial civil servants try and control immigration, take it out of the hands of Darby, and Darby tried everything he could to stop that legislation because he did not want to lose power. The ability to rank people in a group makes him feel fulfilled and happy. What do you have to say about this? Do you think he enjoys the sense of fulfillment, or do you think he should just get a new hobby?
I think it's just common sense to let an unaffiliated civil servant handle immigration. Because, as we've seen at full length, when Darby was Minister of Immigration, it can be compromised by a partisan individual. His criteria was completely out of whack. Now, I'm fine with a relevant minister setting a criteria, but he didn't. It wasn't even a criteria, so to speak. It's just he would make something up to deny immigration. Like, oh, you're friends with two people that are in the SKP. You don't get to become a citizen. This and that, and the people that he would deny would be ambassadors from foreign nations, ambassadors for Canada that he would deny merely because people on their friends list would be in parties, and he'd say they were imports, despite it being an election cycle's just happened. How are you importing when there's ages until an election? Darby does not know what he's doing. He's stupid. He can't run immigration, and he's the reason why putting a civil servant in charge of immigration makes so much sense. Like, he is the walking embodiment of why that policy should be a thing.
Mr. Valorous, thank you for that. I just would like to also note that prior to his appointment as Minister of Immigration, we had Maple handling immigration when he was himself a partisan minister as well. And he was caught deporting various individuals who were voting in opposition party. Clearly, that was the day, I think, when Canadians realized that we need people who do not abuse their authority in positions such as these, especially when handling something as important as citizenship and naturalization records and whatnot. So prior to that, people actually did not mind a minister running the show, but it has been proven from Maple, and who, by the way, leads CanAg, I just want to point that out, and Darby, that these two people, politicians, really can't be trusted in immigration. Really, they let their personal feelings get in the way. And here at TWR, we believe in facts over feelings. And I just wanted to see what you guys here on the panel would like to say in regards to this recent trend where Canadians are being turned off by ministers controlling everything and relying more on civil servants. In fact, people have been trusting the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Brady, way more when it comes to conducting Canada's foreign relations abroad more than the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Polly Keith, who is right now the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Has he done anything? No. He has been hiding in his basement. I don't think he knows what day it is. He is completely out of his head as a dumb jock. Remember that? We know what he was doing on the day of the throne speech. I'm just going to bring out that clip again right now for those at the studio. Remember this? Here on the throne speech.
It ain't gonna happen to me!
And even
I get
this.
ejected from the fucking house by my own cry. That doesn't happen.
So you see, gentlemen, we clearly see ministers who are more concerned with their legal authority and raging on voice calls and showing their anger in troubling ways. And I wanted to ask you, Valrus, if you were in government, do you see him as a role model?
Who, Polly Keith?
Yes, do you see Polly Keith as a role model for Canadians?
Polly Keith is a model of what not to do. Because I remember in my first 10 days as Minister of Justice, I made more announcements than any of, like, a couple of Polly Keith's previous ministries, and obviously he was Prime Minister for some significant time. He got so complacent in office that he expected everything to be handed to him. That is a model of what not to do. You need to earn the Canadian people's trust, not just expect it. It's that simple.
You know, we saw criticism from CanAg and the Tories that all the SKP did was pass a bunch of bills and do nothing, but I'm pretty sure we made a lot of executive decisions as well in expanding the bureaucracy, reclaiming our P5 status, negotiating peace between Sweden and the US, staffing our departments. We actually got a lot of civil servants in the Department of Finance under George. We got new ambassadors for Global Affairs Canada. And we saw progress with RCMP, with reorganizing the standard operating procedures, trying to figure out how to better staff the whole department as a whole, completely restructure everything from the top bottom. But they keep saying all we did was pass useless bills. But let me ask you, what was so useless about passing the Mainstream Media Act? Like, here we see right now the excellence of the SKP government. We have an active private media contributing to Canadians and reaching out far beyond the private media sector. We also passed legislation to prevent ministers of finance from selling government ownership stocks. Like, how were these useless? These people did not even do anything in the opposition. They did literally nothing except a motion of vote no confidence, and now they're lecturing that we did nothing. Clearly this is projecting, and right now I'm just going to stop that spiel. We got a weather report right here, weather alert. We just got information from Elections Canada that this is the highest turnout ever received in Canadian electoral history. It broke the 2016 record. Now that is interesting, actually, when you think about it, gentlemen, because here we see struggling activity in game. We see Simcoe has been reviving actually under the SKP government. We saw more startups. We saw under Polly Keith actually we saw single-digit server startups, and now when we had SKP we were in the double digits. But now we still could do much better. But I think we were recovering significantly under SKP, and I think. If policies by the SKP continued, we would succeed even more. But yet, despite that, we got the highest turnout ever received. What do you think about that, Valrus? What do you think about that?
Rain, I'm traumatized of the statement record turnout because every time I hear that statement, it's just those two words, record turnout. My brain associates it immediately with Matthew J. Ainsley rigging shit. But, I don't think he does rig shit, but it's just whenever I think of record turnout, I feel like there's some philandering by the EC going on. But I'm sure that this is a free and fair election, as we should expect from all P5 nations.
It is. I have trust in our elections. I personally think the EC does a tremendous job in counting legal ballots. But what I'm really concerned about, and this is what I raised in government, was the whole importing thing. And we wanted to investigate that, but the NDP passed a motion of no confidence to stop an importation investigation. So that's what's really undermining credibility here in elections in Canada. Now I just would like to call the first three seats. Weather alert right now, Charlottetown, former NDP seat, goes hard right. Libertarians for Charlottetown. Of course, there's a lot of conservative constituents in Charlottetown. They were unhappy with how Polly Keith defeated Comoros, the member for Charlottetown, and yet it has gone Libertarian. They kicked the NDP out of there. Then we see Halifax go Libertarian, hard right there as well. And Newfoundland also goes to the Libertarians. So what do you think about this, Congressman Jordan? We see right now the Libertarians are already at the lead with 3 seats. All of these were held formerly, as far as I'm aware, by the NDP, and this shows that Canadians are done with this far-left virtue signaling woke politics that we have seen recently in Canadian history. I mean, here we see these firm liberal seats go hard conservative this election, and then we see the Conservative Party, the socialists in disguise, as I like to call them. They are like NDP at this point, Liberal 3.0. Like, we saw Liberals, then Alliance, then NDP, now Conservatives. Like, they're just rebranding, and yet nobody's voting for them because nobody trusts them. What do you think, Congressman?
I think, these are the results that I expected to see. A fantastic start for the Libertarian Party. And as you said with Polly Keith earlier, I think the Canadian people have seen that he is an example of what not to be, as Valor said. Personally, he is an inspiration to me because I know now what not to be. Not to act like him. And I think the Canadian people have finally seen that, and they're looking for some new leadership.
Mr. Sawyer, you are a disgruntled citizen, or sorry, not a citizen, an immigrant hoping one day to be in a better spot here and as a documented citizen of this country. What do you have to say about this recent trend we see here, a hard conservative vote for the Libertarians? What do you think?
Well, I think, the more votes for the Libertarians, the better, in my opinion. So I think that they have possibility to bring about actual change and maybe competency in various departments, especially apparently immigration, from what I can tell. So, I'm hopeful and maybe keep on being steady for them tonight.
Well, I'm glad that you are very optimistic about our country's future. I know, Valorist, you have criticized your opponents, actually, about running negative campaigns, when you know for a fact that we have bright futures ahead of us here in this country. And I believe that with Libertarians, a great yellow road, as they say, yellow brick road would ride through the country. What do you have to say about that?
I'm excited. I hope that these results... I hope that it's starting as it means to go on, and I'm not surprised that people are shifting towards the Libertarian side. No surprise there.
Indeed. So here we have a situation with, as we go on, we see these Canadians are currently voting in different ways than what we have seen right now. Again, this is a very surprising start to this election night. However, it's a long night ahead. We don't know who's going to win this as of course right now, but we can clearly see parts that never ever would have voted for the right wing are going firmly to the right wing. And Valorist, would you consider this a confident standpoint for you and your party right now?
Of course, Rain, but I just want to correct you. I wouldn't say the Libertarian is a right-wing party. I wouldn't say we're left-wing. I'd say we're a big tent party for people with common sense. You can be on any side of the spectrum, but our policies are agreeable to everyone. Because it's driven by having more than 5 IQ points. You know what I mean? Like, we've considered pragmatism, we've considered strategy, and again, common sense in creating each and every policy. So, whilst you refer to Libertarians as right-wing, I would personally beg to differ. In terms of that, I just feel like it's a party. It's a message that everyone can get behind, and that's why, yes, I am confident. I think we are in a confident position, and we're going to keep moving on in a confident position.
Well, thank you so much for that. So I have another question for you, and that is, if you manage to form a majority government, who would you work with in the parliament, assuming you have a majority government?
Again, I think that the People's Party are the only party worth working with. I feel like they're the only ones with an actually established platform. The Agriculture Party, they have a good meaning, they have a good message, but I feel like they don't know how to implement what they want to do. They've got a load of ideas, but they've not got any clue of what to do with them. And that's why I'd be willing to give an ear to the Agricultural Party, but not listen to their ideas on how to implement what they want to do. That's the People's Party are the only party I think that have thought anything out. And again,
we have a
the less
weather
said about
alert.
this,
Weather alert. Sorry, Valorist. We just got a call for your seat has just gone for the Conservative Party. You have just lost your constituency. What do you have to say for that? Bay James just went to the Conservative Party, and as well as Moncton and Quebec, they go to the People's Party. What do you have to say about losing your riding? The people of Bay James seem to be of difference of opinion in what you have to say. And do you think this has anything to do with the ongoing telenovela we have seen here in Canada?
I never liked Bay James anyway. It's a field. There's no one lives there. And yeah, I think this is definitely connected to the telenovela of events that's going on in Canada. I feel like there's some serious cynicism behind this seat, and I'm happy to have lost it. I will happily represent another riding. I hate Bay James and everything it stands for.
So you're saying that there's an ongoing obsession that we have to destroy somehow while we turn away from Bay James and even try and replace their status in society?
Affirmative. And honestly, I feel like we should genocide the people of Bay James. They don't deserve to exist.
Hold on, there seems to be an interesting report here, a challenge to results. Is Bay James libertarians or conservatives? Because on one hand, TWR just informed us that the producers at least that it went to the CPC, and then the CBC is falsely reporting that it went to the Libertarian Party, which reaffirms my belief about fake news CBC try and steal the election. So what do you guys have to say about that?
BBC no, sorry. The CBC, they are filthy liars, in my opinion.
I see. So you think fake news CBC was the one that tries to manipulate the vote? So yeah, it's like
yes.
A lot of Canadians I'm watching right now, they're asking who won Bay James, and on one hand the producers are saying that so we just got confirmation from the EC that the Conservative Party has won Bay James, once again reaffirming Valor's claim on the telenovela and the obsession that we were talking about earlier. And once again, this just shows the CBC is not to be trusted. Fake news CBC has done everything they can.
They are trying to steal the election.
They're trying to manipulate and gaslight the Canadian people, and that's completely unacceptable. Mr. Sawyer, what do you think about this? As a vulnerable immigrant, what do you have to say about the state broadcaster lying directly to the Canadian people right now?
I think it's disgraceful. We should have some more integrity in other elements of the media, and I believe it seems like you guys are definitely making a good example of what honest, integrable media is versus fake news CBC.
Yes, and just remember what happened to the Crown Corporation under this NDP independent government. The Minister of Canadian Heritage was selected by Polly Keith. What happened? It shows there's no leadership up there. The CBC is out of control, and it's supposed to be the first among the people of Canada when it comes to news media, and here we see fake news CBC not checking their sources, not doing anything. Again, they're just releasing and spewing fake news everywhere. And this reminds me of the time when they made the accusation that the Director of Public Prosecutions, Mr. Alex, they tried flinging accusations that he is a biased DPP, that he prosecutes political enemies but does not prosecute the Prime Minister, even though there's proof that a Crown prosecutor was assigned to prosecute former Prime Minister MacLeod, and yet the CBC did not redact their information. They kept the story up, and this is an ongoing trend from, I think, Darby. Darby is the former president of the CBC. He ensured that the CBC is fake news, just like True Media, his private company now. True Media is fake news. If you look at their channel right now, they don't even deserve a channel. Look at that. They got like 3 posts. The last post was on the 31st of July, before Derby made a rare appearance, and then he just disappeared. By the way, I just want to inform Canadians that it has been 2 days since Palby has logged in. We must celebrate. I hope we can move on to a third day without him, a fourth day, a fifth day. I want to try and get my nickname up to 365, actually. That would be a true record, I think. Valorous, what do you have to say about that? Do you think we should get up to number 365 without Derby?
Every day without Derby is a dream.
Day for all Canadians.
That's a day for celebration, and if we can get 365 consecutive days of celebration, well, that's a treat for us, isn't it?
Indeed, and I thank you for that. So, now that we're on the subject about Derby, let's bring in a quick discussion on his food selections once again. I know that, Valorous, you are a wonderful chef. You released a better guacamole recipe, actually, a few days ago, to try and teach Canadians how we patriots truly make guacamole, and not what Derby was trying to spin off about guacamole. Do you have anything to say about your secrets, your talents on cooking with Valorous in the kitchen?
Well, anyone can cook. Cooking is not exclusive. Anyone can cook, and I'm happy to be releasing this cookbook and working with TWR to release recipes over the coming weeks. And I invite everyone to try my recipes. And make yourself some good guacamole, not the shit that Derby was eating.
I just would like to clarify one thing, because I was required by our network lawyers to say this. Anyone Can Cook is from the Pixar film Ratatouille, and to a message to woke Walt Disney Company: we are not stealing your information. You should get out of Florida. You should stop controlling Florida's county. And Ron DeSantis is perfectly right. And we just would like to say TWR firmly endorses Ron DeSantis to stay as governor of Florida. We did not say he should be president. We still think Donald Trump should be the president. So we stand firmly against Walt Disney, the woke corporations, and big tech in general. And believe me, we want to ensure that we are not stealing their propaganda as they try and indoctrinate our children. Valorous, would you just like to add on to that? Do you think we stole from fake news ABC, a product of Walt Disney even?
I think the congressman had something to say, actually.
Congressman, I'm very sorry. I know that you are taking time from the August recess to speak with us for representing the people of Lima and whatnot.
Of course. Just wanted to say on a Valorous cookbook, it is the best guacamole I've ever had, and I recommend you all try it.
Yes, I do agree. I myself had the pleasure of having that guacamole. It was fantastic. And of course, we encourage everyone to subscribe to TWR Nation, because that is, as our subscription plan, truly embraces patriotic guacamole. So, Valorous, would you like to weigh in on the history that came up with this guacamole? I believe you're very enticed by the guacamole. Would you like to explain to us what led you to decide to start making guacamole in your free time?
Well, when I first became a chef, guacamole was one of the first recipes that I mastered. And when I saw Derby ruining guacamole and making a disgusting version, absolutely revolting guacamole, I don't even think you can call it guacamole, it was inedible garbage. I decided that I needed to show the world a better way to make guacamole, a way to make food that you can actually eat. So that's what led me to develop this guacamole recipe.
So have you had the opportunity to make other recipes? I believe on Sunday tomorrow, as part of our TWR Sunday program, a new recipe is expected to come out. Do you think you can tell viewers what recipe you plan on releasing soon?
Well, I believe tomorrow TWR Nation will be releasing my homemade tacos recipe, which I'm looking forward to.
So are you trying to take business away from Taco Bell, first of all, is what I want to ask? Because Taco Bell is a heroic company, and I endorse Taco Bell fully. I eat from there many times within a year. And I want to ask you, are you trying to destroy American-built businesses? Are you trying to destroy Mexican cuisine?
Well, Mr. Steeringbridge, as a libertarian, I promote the free market, and I believe that competition is a good thing. So I think that me releasing a homemade taco recipe will only force Taco Bell to make better recipes themselves and find a way to keep the customers coming in and the money flowing. So really, I'm helping Taco Bell by creating a homemade taco recipe.
Okay, we just got another weather alert here. We got Ottawa firmly goes to the Conservatives Party, which makes sense. They have been a long time socialist stronghold here in Canada. I'm afraid they always like to appease the woke, and they're full of crime city. That does not surprise me. Montreal and Gatineau also go over to the Libertarians as the Libertarians make a march for the Prime Minister's office. Valors, what do you have to say about this as we're keeping score at home? They're starting to catch up a bit. Are you a bit concerned?
No, I'm not concerned. I'm already satisfied to a small extent. Obviously, if it ended like this, I'd be devastated. But with 5 seats already, we're playing Kingmaker. So the Libertarians have done enough to play Kingmaker. We're going to be in government next term. This is enough to make sure of that. Which is
so, assuming you do not have the seats to form a government, are you willing to be a Kingmaker party? And can you explain right now on this channel, if you were a Kingmaker party, which parties would you collaborate with, and would they be in line with your party ideals?
Well, no one speaks French in Canada, so I assume the party that would be most gunning for government would be the Conservatives. So I'd use my 5 Kingmaker seats and give it to the People's Party. Because again, they're the only ones that are the worthy alternative to ourselves.
So now we do have French speakers in this country, but the thing is, the leader of the Conservative Party thinks he's the messiah of French people. Like he's somehow deluded himself into thinking that just because he speaks French, he could speak for all of the Francophone. But that's not true. I don't think there are many French people who would vote for someone just because he speaks French. That would be a complete misrepresentation of their population. Like, think of it. We have a lot of stupid people who speak English. And would we vote for them just because they speak English? Of course not. It's the same thing for a different language. And Valorous, do you think if you were a French speaker who spoke French and knew the language, would you be ashamed knowing that the spokesperson for all of the Francophone was this complete incompetent person who could not even enunciate properly in a debate?
Bro, I'm gonna be real with you. When I was in that debate, I generally could not understand a word he was saying. Like, obviously, all of the
I just have this report from staff here on the studio. I could try and reenact what he was saying if you would like to have a recollection, if need be.
Please.
Oh no, I personally remember it fine. This guy slurring his speech. I could not understand a single
Yeah, but
word.
I insist that I try and reenact it if I may.
Okay, by all means, go for it.
When I was the leader of CSIS and I will see the imports in the Libertarian Party. And does that answer your question, debate moderator, Mr. Jackson A. Hewitt? He's not here. Why does he always leave when I answer that question?
Yeah,
Valorous, do you think that was an accurate reenactment of Mr. Leader of the Conservatives and leader of France, Mr. Baguette, as I like to call him?
I think that was more than accurate, but it perfectly sums up what I was getting out of Xavier. I could not understand a single word. How am I meant to retort what he says when I do not know what he says? You know what I mean?
And of course, we had leaks from their party publicized everywhere, which said that he was going to destroy you in the debate. Do you think you were destroyed in the debate, or do you think your brain cells were destroyed in that debate, Mr. Valorous?
That's a very good question. I think if anything got destroyed, it was my brain cells, because obviously as we look at the TWR poll that was held yesterday, 2 people said that he won the debate. Let's put that into perspective. 2 out of 19. That's just about 10%. So basically, no one said that he won the debate.
So we got viewers complaining in Canada General about me reenacting his voice. This is, after all, just a satirical reenactment of what I, as a spectator, saw from it. Obviously, I'm just glad that you guys are joining us tonight on this wonderful evening here in America, on this wonderful discussion on Canadian politics. Power in politics, as the man who shall not be named used to call it in his segments. Congressman Jordan, what do you think of our audience tonight, viewing the voice of America right now?
Personally, I think you did a terrific job impersonating the Conservative Party leader. Absolutely fantastic. I think that the audience members are just jealous of how good you can do a impersonation of him because they cannot do one as good. But yeah.
So we would like to go on with another discussion actually on, I guess, the effects of long-time degeneracy and the economic policies of Canada. So moving back, we have seen, in an attempt to document everything in the Department of Finance, we have gone from no Trello to a Trello, but it was registered on Roblox, to a Google form to register forms. What on earth is going on over there? How can we end this stalemate of deregistering things, re-registering things, lack of database, lack of anything? Because I know a lot of parties like to promise property and business expos and all sorts of wonderful, glamorous policies. But, Valorist, how can they do that if we don't even know who's a business and who isn't a business? Like, at this point, Rinaldi is probably the only consistent business we have in Canada. Because Jackson is well known, he's famous, everyone knows who he is. But the same cannot be said for, I don't know, some other business corporation that is barely known and is led by someone barely known. Valorist, your comments, how will you change that?
You raise an excellent point about tracking businesses. And that's why the number one policy, the one that we put right at the top on our manifesto section for finance, was to finally create a Canadian companies directory so that we can track these businesses. Because without a method to do that, there is no private sector. We do not know who has the writ to operate and who does not. Who is a private business, who isn't. If we can't track that, what is the point? Literally, what is the point? So to even have a Department of Finance at all, we need to make that kind of database, and that'll be the thing we do on day one of this government.
Thank you for weighing in on that. And Mr. Sawyer, would you like to consider yourself a small business owner if given the opportunity to try and restabilize our economy?
Well, it's always nice to take up that opportunity like that, and it's something that definitely would consider if things can be back in order and this degeneracy in our economy is stabilized for sure. Maybe things get back to the good old days per se.
So we just got a weather alert. Jam won his seat in London, and that used to be Mr. Aviation, Glazed Aviation's seat, also known as Congressman Jim Jordan. What do you have to say, Congressman? The people of London decided to turn to Jam instead of Jim. What is going on here?
I think that the people of London are idiots. Honestly, I hated having them as my constituency or my riding. Honestly, who the hell is Jam? So anybody who voted for the man does not know who the hell they are voting for, and I will just be moving to a different riding.
I see. So you will be representing Lima in the next election, perhaps, or next term. Sorry.
That is correct. I will be leaving London. London is a shithole. Thank you.
So I'll be confirming right now to the people of Canada, this person will be representing Lima instead of London. And with that in mind, we also would like to mention that CanAg has won one seat in Kenora. Toronto goes to Conservative Party. What does this leave for our tally? We see on the board tonight, we see 5 seats for the Libertarians, 2 seats for the Conservatives, 2 seats for the People's Party, 1 seat for the Agricultural Party, and 1 seat for Jam. Senior members of the Libertarian Party have been losing their ridings as people seem to have been becoming increasingly woke nowadays. It seems like the tone of Valorist in condemning the telenovela chronicles of Bay James and Mr. Jordan's frequent appearances on TWR seem to be turning away the people of London as well. What do you guys have to say about this recent woke trend we see going around and plaguing this nation?
Congressman, I hand the floor to you.
You go.
Okay. Rain, could you ask the question again, please?
My question is, what do you guys have to say about the woke poison that is destroying our country?
I feel like that's a very vague question. What kind of woke poison are you referring to? There's
All
infinite
sorts. It's
many.
everywhere. It's everywhere. Like even last evening, we have seen a discussion on what was it? Where I won't discuss it here on TV, but it was a very vulgar and graphic discussion that confused many people in Canada. People like Zelron and African Party, they were involved in that discussion. They found it disgusting. That is one form of woke poison we see. Of course, Derby is another woke poison. His Porter Airlines flying around the skies of Canada, that's another example of woke poison. We also see, of course, the rise in conservative, or should I say the fake conservative socialist party, socialist in disguise party, another form of woke poison. It's everywhere. Like, we are surrounded by, as Tom Whitaker said, a culture war where traditions are at stake, morality is at stake. And that's why we need to go to war against these people and destroy degeneracy everywhere. So with that in mind, Valorous, what do you have to say?
We need to win the war on degeneracy. We need to defeat degeneracy completely, and I will dedicate my entire term to that.
I see. And Congressman?
I agree. Wokeism is a very big problem in this country, and we need to defeat the wokeism.
I see. So woke culture is currently being pushed back. Now, I know some people are critical about our considerations of woke, but there's a difference between embracing diversity and activism and blatant cancel culture. Cancel culture is going to go after us all. It may go after conservative voices, but it may go after everyone else as well. If the plays for power go out of hand, out of control, and start going after other people. And so, Mr. Sawyer, what do you actually have to say about what we see here? Do you think society is at the grassroots of our marginalized communities?
Well, what I will tell you is that wokeism is quite something that's taken a turn into extreme territory, to say the least. With what started as a call for justice has evolved into, cancel culture, stifling free speech, and labeling anyone who disagrees as problematic. It even affects businesses now being pressured to adhere to woke standards or face boycotts, public shaming, and education too. But all in all, I think society as a whole, across Canada, the world, needs to really have a wake up call and look at ourselves in the mirror. And I guess more so try to work on combating this wokeism for the betterment of society itself.
So here we are. The CBC has just projected. Again, this is after all the fake news. CBC can't trust them for anything. They have become a propaganda machine for the leftists all around Canada. They just projected a hung parliament. Now, I know Valorous was talking about a libertarian majority. What do you have to say about this hung parliament that we see here? Also, I just would like to turn attention to some of the leftists here in Canada who are seething and coping as they watch this live stream right now. Have you noticed how angry they look right now? We are laughing right now and having fun on this wonderful stage in this air-conditioned office here in New York City. We are laughing. We're having fun, and you got people here calling everyone else brain dead and other things. Like, what the hell is going on here? This just proves that. Have you ever seen a happy liberal? I never have seen a happy liberal. So, Valorous, your thoughts on the recent political shift and the obvious teething we see from our viewers tonight as they complain about the TWR but cannot stop watching us, and that's why we're the #1 rated news agency in Canada.
You raise a good point. You can complain all you want, but at the end of the day, you're still watching the stream. If you don't like it, don't watch. That simple. On top of that, your first question in relation to the majority, there's still 9 seats left to call. Now, you give us 9, that makes 14. That's a very strong majority. Now, a projection for a hung parliament is fine, and I'm sure the Libertarians will get enough to get into government. As I've already said, we've already got enough to be the kingmaker. So when it's all said and done, we're going to be up there, we're going to be good. And I have no doubt, there's no doubt in my mind that we'll emerge largest party. No doubt.
I just got a leak actually that the Libertarian Party will not be forming a coalition with the fake socialist movement of Canada, the Conservatives as they like to claim it to be. I know they won't be forming a coalition with them because they don't support taxes on businesses. Like, who wants to open a business on Roblox just to be taxed? Can you believe these sort of policies, Valrus? So can you confirm tonight that you will not be forming a coalition, even if the People's Party and the Agricultural Party say no to you? Would you still form a coalition with them if it meant you got government, or would you rather sit in opposition than allow this taxing and whatnot?
Well, Rain, when I say something, I mean it. So when I say that I don't want to make a coalition with the Conservative Party, I mean I don't want to make a coalition with the Conservative Party. Now, there's precedent in this group of parties choosing not to form a government when they clearly could and when they should be the kingmaker, and I'm happy to rely on that precedent. You know, I do not agree with the Conservative Party in any way, shape, or form, especially their measures for tax, and that's why I simply cannot support them.
You know, we just got another weather alert here. It seems like Winnipeg is saved, my friends. Winnipeg is saved. A right-wing party has picked up Winnipeg, Canadian Agriculture Party, they have taken Winnipeg. That's great. That's wonderful. I was actually scared the Conservatives were going to win Winnipeg and destroy my wonderful community. But I'm glad to see, I'm rest assured that the right-wing Agriculture Party of Winnipeg, wins Winnipeg, sorry. And Nunavut goes to Libertarians, Regina goes to the People's Party. Again, this is wonderful. Right-wing conservative areas continue to vote for right-wing beliefs and policies and not this leftist garbage that we have been seeing from the leader of the Conservative Party. Valrus, are you happy by these results as a colleague who worked with the former member for Winnipeg?
Obviously, I would have preferred to have Winnipeg for my own, so that I could be in charge of who replaces the outgoing incumbent. But it's good to see that Winnipeg is still in the hands of the right wing. You know, the incumbent was a strong right wing man, and the party coming in is a strong right wing party. So I can't complain.
So we see Commonwealth News, a very accurate news source I have come to see, truly independent news. It has been a pleasure reading their newspaper articles and speaking with the leader of the Commonwealth News. They have just given their own electoral standpoint. 15 out of 21 House seats have been called. This just proves that they can count better than us, actually. I don't know what the producers were doing earlier with the 22 seats or 20 seats. Valrus, what was wrong with our producers tonight?
As I can't speak for our producers, but I'm sure they've worked through their mathematical conundrums and they're moving forward.
They missed Rain Thompson tonight. They slept in.
I don't think our producer's going to be very happy about you talking smack on the show.
Hey, this is all fun and games after all. This is a wonderful work environment where we can laugh at each other and, nobody minds. Unlike certain people in this group who, if you say even the smallest joke, they get angry, extremely angry. And Valrus, we will be promoting this culture of banter and continue to do so in the next parliament, even if the Libertarians are somehow non-government, which I do not see as of now. I think, is it too early to make a prediction on who we call the election for, you think, Valrus?
It's too early. We've still got 6 more.
Yeah, I think it's too early right now to call the election, but we will be ensuring our compelling analysis is out there and continuing to observe attentively at what we want to see from tonight's election. And I just would like to point out Baron Tech gets to be Prime Minister. So Valrus, can you perhaps share some ideas that you plan on bringing forth to the Parliament if you manage to form a parliamentary caucus and whatnot? What would be your objective on day one?
Well, day one is to settle in. I see day one as the day after the throne speech passes, and when we're officially into government and we're safe in government. That's day one for me. Not the first week in when we've just been elected, the one after the throne speech. That's when we really have that standing to get our agenda going. In the first week before the throne speech, if we are in government, We'll just be looking at the state of affairs, what the CB, no, what not the CBC, what the NDP have left for us, and we'll start evaluating our plans. We'll start considering how can we fix this part, how can we fix this part, how can we put our ideology into motion in this sector, and this sector, based on what the NDP has left for us. So that's going to be our first week in government, and the week after the throwing speeches, we're going to start implementing.
Some people have criticized the Libertarian Party as being no policy and just a bunch of hot air. Valorous, are you a hot air balloon by any chance? Do you identify as a hot air balloon?
I do not identify as a hot air balloon. I identify as the Prime Minister of Canada. And if these people read my manifesto, which is the longest out of any party's manifesto, which is the most thorough out of any party's manifesto, they would know that I do have policy, I do have water, I do know what I'm talking about.
Are you attentively consuming water right now?
Regretfully, no, I don't. I don't have any capacity to consume water. But if I did, I would definitely.
So what is our staff for? Like, we have all this staff here. They're not bringing in the water. Like, this is slave labor right here. We are being forced to, give out all of these views to try and increase the views. Dan is literally profiting off of this right now, and he's not even treating us wonderful employees the way we deserve to be treated. What do you have to say to that, Vars? We're not even being given water right now in this society.
Rain, this is true. My mouth is dry as hell right now, bro. I need water. I'm dying for water, but I have to stay on the stream.
We are under. This is a health concern, and Mr. Sawyer, I think when you were thrown into failed immigration in the detainment camps of this NDP government, most likely you are desperately in need of water. So, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I will say, I think my lovely glass and drinks out here is probably the most I've drank since I've gotten in this damn country.
Would you have you relied on Wild Turkey bourbon to survive?
Yeah, it's Wild Turkey has definitely been a blessing since I've gotten here.
That is true. And we just got in new 3 seats in. Yukon goes to the People's Party. Northwest Territory goes to the Libertarians. So that means the Northwest Territory continues to be held in for a Conservative Party. And I just want to say to our audience, when I say Conservative Party, I mean an actual Conservative Party, not like, tax to business type party like what the leader of the Conservatives is saying. I'm talking Libertarians, Northwest Territory, that stays. I think that's Persians territory, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. Valorous, is that Persians realm right there? Do you think he got his re-election?
The Northwest Territories, I'm pretty sure. Hold on.
It was either Martin or
Wyatt.
Persian.
Wyatt.
It's Wyatt. Wyatt Clark's.
Oh, it was Wyatt. It was Wyatt.
Riding.
So that means Wyatt was Martin. Yes. Okay. So it is Wyatt. All right. So Wyatt gets his re-election. Edmonton holds on to the Conservative Party. That is unfortunate. I think a lot of people were wanting to get rid of Palby from the member for Edmonton, but for all you know, Palby is probably going to come back as an opposition member of parliament. As far as I'm aware, he's going to destroy this country, as far as I'm aware. And the Yukon goes to the People's Party. I think that was Kiara's constituency, but I'm glad that these realms are in safe hands, except for Edmonton. Edmonton was the true disappointment of tonight. I think people of Canada deserve a better member for Edmonton. The last member for Edmonton was complete disaster. And Congressman Jordan, I think you had the displeasure of employing the former member for Edmonton as your principal secretary, I believe it was, when you were Prime Minister. Am I not mistaken?
That is correct. I did, unfortunately.
And how was he?
I will say he was competent as a private secretary, writing my documents, doing my slave labor, but he is not a competent politician. And I was kind of the one who helped bring him into politics, and I kind of regret that. So, to the Canadian people, I am sorry.
So you were responsible for enabling this guy. You gave him a platform. So
I
Unfortunately,
gave him
you
a
have
very
to-
little platform.
Yes, and unfortunately, that has completely. I'm sure he meant well. I'm sure you just wanted a secretary, but this guy got a Frankenstein's monster in the process. And yes, you're right to apologize for creating Palby. Right here, gentlemen. This, if you guys ever wanted to blame someone to blame for why there's Porter Airlines flying around or fake dead channels in the private news organizations, this guy's responsible for it. Flowers, what do you have to say for Congressman Jordan's enabling of Palby?
I disagree with any and all enabling of Palby. Palby needs to be executed.
Oh wow! So you're openly encouraging murder?
Well,
I believe he wants to reestablish the death penalty in
I
Canada.
think that everything should be legal unless it hurts someone else. Killing
So-
killing Derby does not hurt anyone. In fact, it helps people. So
No.
really, I think it's a common sense policy.
So
And
you're
I
saying
think whilst we're executing Derby, we also need to investigate election integrity because
I
clearly
see.
something has gone wrong. We should have more seats, but we only have 7 at this point. I think there has been some election malpractice, and this needs to be investigated by the incoming government.
You know, when I think of it though, I think this is the perfect time to do something, Valrus. Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
No.
The great Rain Thompson Valorous debate. It is time.
Right now, right here? Okay, cool. We'll do
Yeah,
the
right
great
now.
Rain Thompson Valorous debate.
Indeed. We need to decide right here, right now, as Canada, as America votes actually on their next government, we need to decide who is stupider, Polly Keith or Derby. And well, who do you think is stupider, Valorous?
I personally think it's Polly Keith. I think Polly Keith is the more stupid of the two.
Really? Well, personally, I think Palby may be very much dumber than Polly Keith. So, would you like to explain why you think Polly Keith is stupider than Palby?
Well, Polly Keith, brother got backstabbed like 5 different times by people that he placed all of his trust in. So clearly he has no way of telling who's trustable and who's not, which is a sign of someone who is really stupid. In addition to that, he's not opportunistic enough. He does not know how to take a chance. You know, he needed Derby to give him that nudge to even be able to vote the SKP government out, or else I think he would have just sat idly by and had his 4 people rock up to Parliament every session and do absolutely nothing. Like, overall, on the whole, Polly Keith is dumber than Derby. I'm sorry.
You know, as this conversation goes on, I just would like to apologize to everyone who has been DMing me. I have like 44 unopened DMs. I'll be sure to reply to them shortly. Of course, this just proves I am famous, and I am completely famous, actually, when you think about it, because of that. And I'll be replying to everyone soon. And yeah, we'll just continue to see how the great yellow brick road marches through Canada with whatever seats the Libertarian Party gets. But I just would like to note that you mentioned that Polly Keith snaked his own supporters, but that's not true. Palby did the same thing twice. And he's pretty much as stupid as Polly Keith. Probably dumber.
Well, the thing with Derby is that he can actually process having a motive at all. Polly Keith does not know what he is doing. He needs a nudge from everyone. Like, Polly Keith cannot think for himself. He is a sheep.
But Palby, he thinks for himself, but the ideas aren't good. Like, I'd rather be neutral and abstain from thought completely than make the wrong decisions all the time.
At least he has the physical brain power to think for himself, though. Polly Keith does not have the neuronic ability to think, and that's the real tragedy here.
So with that in mind, and I do respect you, by the way, I just would like to say we have played eviction notice multiple times, and therefore I respect you. Good game, by the way. I think it's best we leave this on as a draw right now, and we will revisit this at another time. What do you say?
I accept your opportunity for a draw. Good game. Thank
Good
you.
game.
I respect you. But we will continue
that was
this another
wonderful.
time.
That was wonderful. We need to continue that another time, probably on your show on Monday. We will continue discussing this ongoing debate.
I agree.
And we just got another weather alert from the fake news CBC again, the minority government for the Libertarian Party. They misspelled our name, or the party's name, sorry. We are not affiliated in any way with the Libertarian Party, but the organization that we work for, News Corp, does endorse them in many ways. But yes, they misspelled your party name, Valors. What do you have to say about that?
I respect the CBC president. I think he is working very hard right now to write up what he needs to write up. Of course, it's not easy to be making these graphics at such a short notice and very fast. I respect Moderna for his hard work. But the CBC are still fake news media, and they are still trying to steal this election.
I see. So you are propagating conspiracies, aren't you?
I don't think I'm propagating conspiracies. I'm propagating factual information. I think it is
We
beyond
are
the reason.
literally trolling the CBC right now, aren't we? I am laughing at the CBC president immensely. I think we should do this more often. Just keep trolling the CBC.
As much as I respect the CBC, trolling them is really, really funny. So I respect Moderna.
This is hilarious. This is hilarious, actually, when you think of it. This great movement that we have achieved.
I agree. I 100% agree.
And so, with that in mind, minority government completely debunked Valor's claims. Are you salty? Are you salty that your majority government predictions did not go hand in hand with reality? Would you say you are delusional, Mr. Valorous?
No, because at the end of the day, Mr. Steering Bridge, I am the next Prime Minister of Canada.
Oh, you're pal. Are you calling me Mr. Steering Bridge in a condescending manner? You clown.
Oh, I'm a clown now. Listen,
you
I
are
don't
clown.
want to have an issue with you in the middle of the stream. Listen,
Listen.
you're going for the wrong
You
guy, my
need to
friend.
take this outside, pal. You need to take this outside.
Okay, we can take this outside. Once the broadcast ends, we'll take this outside, and I'll right hook your face. You're not safe from me. I'm serious. You're not safe from me.
Really?
Yeah, you're not safe.
So what do you, Congressman and Mr. Sawyer, what do you have to say about this clown projecting right now?
No one is projecting anything. Read the results. We have seats coming in. Read them out. Be a good host, you clown.
You are the clown.
I'm not the clown. You're the clown.
I am rolling up my sleeves right now. We will actually go.
My
to
sleeves have been
battle.
rolled up since I started. My sleeves have been rolled up since the start. I will punch you in the face, bro.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay,
read
then.
out the result. Read out the result.
Read out the results. Okay, so you think you can boss me around because of that?
I am bossing you around.
Okay, so Victoria goes to the Libertarians. That used to be Cypress's seat, and I think he's up for re-election, actually, or something like that. And as a result of his, re-election, he got Victoria for the Libertarian Party. What do you have to say to that, Valors? Do you think Cypress is a wonderful supporter of the Libertarian movement?
Of course he is.
And
Cypress-
Vancouver goes to the Libertarian Party as well, and the Northern Rockies goes to the People's Party. That is 9 seats for the Libertarians. So that means the SKP won 1 less seat. That is actually really good for a 4-party election right there. When you think of it, we just lost 1 seat in a thing that they projected wasn't going to be a win for the SKP. The Libertarians did tremendously, actually, Valorous. What do you have to say for that?
I thank everyone that voted for us. I know at the start that I said I was satisfied with 5 seats. I was satisfied with 7, but of course I expected much more. I think that 9 is a small underachievement for the Libertarian Party, but at the end of the day, we're in government. I think that's enough. I feel like we'd survive on our own as a minority, but we're not going to be a minority. I'm going to begin coalition negotiations as we speak. And
Okay, and before you head off, sir, what do you have to say about Vancouver going Libertarian? That is the home place of our Governor General, and I'm sure that if you somehow become Prime Minister, you would perhaps have, how about private audiences in Vancouver with the Governor General and yourself? Would you like to meet with him in Vancouver? I think that would be fun.
Well, of course I'm excited to meet the Governor General, but I feel like we have someone in the studio that you should get to interviewing, Mr. Steering Bridge.
Who is this? Who is this in the stream? I cannot see right now. The blinding lights have completely ruined my eyesight right now. Who is in there?
Mr. Stonebridge,
Uh,
go over and interview him.
To this man here. Okay, hello, sorry. I'm
This
sorry,
is
I'm
very comical. We have he's struggling to align himself in the studio at the moment, guys. I wish you could all see this. This is really funny.
this is terrible.
Our producer is extremely angry as we speak.
Yes, this producer's an idiot. Okay. Okay. So, hello, sir, how are you?
Hi,
Mr.
I'm
Novak.
grand. How are you? Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you just fine. I'm glad that you
Gorgeous.
stopped by the show. I'm honored to meet with Mr. Novak, Connor Novak. It's been a pleasure. How are you?
I'm very well. I saw that there was lots of lovely news in Canada, and I was quick to take up the invitation to come on this wonderful network's wonderful programming. As always, the Weather Report has done an outstanding job.
Well, I appreciate you for praising our work. We like to stay with wonderful journalism that also keeps the audience entertained. And based on the very angry viewers, some of them are very angry. Of course, there's more happy viewers than whatnot. A lot of angry viewers were engaged tonight. The most entertaining news program in election night history, as I like to say.
Absolutely.
So, Mr. Novak, what would you like to discuss with me?
Well, what I'm interested in is to see how this next parliament will actually shape up. Because while I have full confidence in the Libertarian Party to deliver a wonderful mandate, I must say the Conservative Party, the Canadian Agricultural Party, and the People's Party all seem to be a bit cobbled together last minute to oppose the yellow brick road, as you were referring to it. And I'm interested to see if this parliament will actually be able to reach quorum. I don't know. Does the Libertarian Party have any intentions of changing quorum in case their opposition is too incompetent to show up?
Personally, it would have to be based on what people on both sides of the chamber think regarding quorum. I think that if we try and change quorum, the radical left will try and spin that as us trying to make a takeover. And we cannot afford that. We cannot afford that. So we will, of course, be in active negotiations to, try and appease the people who want to try and destroy our movement.
Absolutely. No, and I'm wondering then, it's very interesting that Ainsley, because of course Ainsley makes all the decisions in Elections Canada, it's interesting that he gave the Libertarians Vancouver. It's as though he is giving his silent mandate to the Libertarians, or at least a quiet acknowledgement of their superiority.
I think. Well, I cannot say what goes on in the Governor General's head, but I think that by giving Vancouver to us, it's a nice olive branch for cooperation. I know that I can safely say that there have been times where he has been in disagreement with us on certain things, but we are all about cooperating. We're all about working with him. I'm sure he and I are on the same team. I'm sure he's on the same team as Valorous, which is Team Canada. Regardless of the political squabbles we saw from this tremendous campaign or throughout the week, we are a party of unity. At the end of the day, we want to work with anyone who wants to help support the Canadian voice.
Absolutely, and the Libertarians are a tremendous party. Now, what I also want to stress is how proud I am of the Libertarians to have taken Victoria, as we know, the centre of the Green Party, which no longer exists because of course, electoral malfeasance. But we are past that now. But I'd like to congratulate the Libertarians on winning my former seat, and I hope you appoint an intelligent and dignified individual to that spot.
Well, we will be sure to look for someone who represents the people of Victoria in a wonderful way, and we will be considerate of what people in Canada want to see from our government.
So refreshing to hear a party so responsive to the people's needs. Why do you think other parties in the past have been unable to be so responsive as responsive as the Libertarians have?
Because they made themselves comfortable, so to speak. They think that, because they have their little sleeper votes, their loyalists and whatnot, they didn't have no need to talk to regular Canadians. And they think that by playing Simcoe all the time, which, as we all know, is a glorified gun shooting range, that people aren't entitled to opinion. I've played Simcoe. I've spoken to people there. I haven't participated in the gunfights myself, but I spoke to people at Simcoe, and I feel like we need more of that sort of thing from members of parliament. I know that my office has proudly released pamphlets to our supporters on a regular basis every now and then just to keep them in the loop, and I feel like that sort of standard should continue for all 21 members of the House of Commons.
Do you pledge now on national television to continue releasing pamphlets to your constituents, which of course, as one of your constituents, I read litigiously?
Well, I will be sure to keep everyone informed as an incoming senator for Saskatchewan.
Very good, very good. Yes. I don't know if you have any further questions for me. However, I wanted to give my 2 cents on this very interesting election, and also to celebrate, as a former Prime Minister of Canada, the high turnout this election. No doubt a result of the superior campaign techniques of the Libertarian Party in raising turnout so high in Canada for the first time in who knows how long. I hope this will be a trend that continues, and I'm sure you'll agree with me there.
I mean, whether people like it or not, prior governments were formed like on 20-vote elections. Like, have you seen how when Paulie Keith was running for the first time as Prime Minister, he barely had an electoral turnout. But ever since the SKP formed, politics in this country was completely revived. We have seen the opposition and government have high attendance rating. Of course, the SKP has been more consistent in attendance, and I think based on this new election, we see higher activity turnout thanks to Libertarians. So when every single Canadian criticizes us, they need to remind themselves and remember, without us, this place would be dead, and they should be thanking us, if anything.
Of course, because there is that quiet cabal, as we in the Green Party referred to it, the cabal that decided that any change in Canada would threaten their useless powers and useless positions. How does the Libertarian Party intend to take on this? It's not even a deep state, because the deep state would at least want the better for Canada. This is just simply a quiet cabal that wants to hoard power for no reason. Does the Libertarian Party have any plans to take on this awful cancer that has plagued Canada?
Well, I would not like to call it cancer, because people who suffer from cancer would, of course, be naturally offended to be compared to these terrible people. But I think that we will continue to preach our policies, preach our views, and we hope that people will listen. And I believe they will listen, because I haven't seen a single time they criticized us on a matter of policy, not once. The only things they fixated themselves on was my tone. That's it, my tone of all things. Literally, this country is supposed to be a P5 country. It's supposed to represent one of the best countries in the greater community of nations, and they're focused on my tone. Like, my tone should be the least of everyone's priorities.
Absolutely, I could not say it better. Thank you very much for having me on. I believe it's my time to depart as the Libertarian Party begins to form government. But thank you all very much for having me on. God bless you all. God save King George the Great. Take care now.
Now, of course, we would just like to clarify that was not necessarily a call for treason against Canada's head of state, but nevertheless, some people still...
From myself, it was, but it does not represent the Libertarian Party, of course.
Or the TWR network. Well, thank you, Mr. Novak, for weighing in on... Thank you for weighing in on our subject matter tonight. We just would like to say that this Libertarians have garnered the second most votes of any party in Canadian history, rivaling even old Liberal Party vote counts. Now, that is something worth to mention. That is all from me tonight. I thank my fellow co-hosts, fellow TWR personalities for watching this tremendous stream. Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
I've been muted in Canada for 3 days. This is racism.